The detective didn't merely grin. He reclined in his chair like someone convinced that authority rendered him invincible. "Your daughter asked for it," he remarked offhandedly. "She buzzed her hair. It's the latest trend." The investigation was over, and one of the perpetrators was the coach's son. Right then, I experienced a chill deeper than rage. Something honed. Something controlled. Something methodical. "Hello, I'm Jack Harlan. I'm 52, a retired U.S. Special Forces recon team leader, currently settled into a peaceful civilian existence in a quiet seaside village. I believe my conflicts were long finished. I was mistaken. 3 evenings ago, my daughter Lila returned home wordless, gaze vacant, head freshly shaved and irritated. She remained silent, yet her posture screamed what her lips wouldn't. She retreated to her bedroom, lights extinguished, avoiding every reflection. The following morning, a video landed on my cell phone. A cluster of privileged young men, jeering, encircling her, mocking, repeating. "See how we entertain ourselves with your shaved chick. Keep your mouth shut, old-timer, or we'll pay you a visit." They assumed terror would freeze me. They judged me entirely wrong. I didn't phone an attorney. Not immediately. I didn't charge into the school. I issued no warnings. Instead, I placed 3 discreet calls to individuals skilled in tactics, observation, and pressure far beyond any legal chamber. In mere hours, connections surfaced, scrubbed updates, manipulated dates, fabricated testimonies, and a school leadership far more devoted to safeguarding images than safeguarding kids. That evening, Lila finally opened up. "Dad, will they escape punishment?" I rested my palm over hers. "No," I answered softly. "They simply haven't realized the size of their error." Beyond the glass, rain tapped the panes like a ticking clock, and I launched my strategy. The initial oversight on their part, I had been drilled to vanish. The follow-up, I had also been drilled to force others to surface again, on documents, in files, in manners they never planned. By midday tomorrow, I possessed security camera recordings from the hospital's western wing, capturing 3 of the youths exiting Lila's ward, chuckling. No staff noticed their arrival, yet they had been present. I forwarded the recording to my old unit. No message, merely the segment. By dusk, they supplied identities, residences, relational ties, plus far more troubling revelations. One youth's dad controlled a large portion of the governing panel. Another possessed restricted youth offense files. The last, his relative headed the local law enforcement. That accounted for the detective's smug expression. However, this involved no brutality. I had zero intention of touching them. I intended something far more damaging. A former colleague, Ramirez, currently handled digital security for an extensive independent academy consortium. He retrieved stored information the region assumed had vanished. Browsing records, private conversations, removed short videos. They narrated an account the institution had labored to conceal. I assembled an electronic chronology. Each upload, each exchange, each breach of regulations. Next, I assembled 3 packets, each packed with complete proof. One addressed to the State Education Agency, one to the Regional Accreditation Authority, and one, my preferred, for a nearby reporter who had once been indebted to me. Yet I held off dispatching them. I desired them to sense security first. I desired their smug satisfaction. Because dissent from overconfidence strikes with greater force. I allowed 5 full days. Sufficient for Lila to cease flinching at every notification. Sufficient for the youths to resume sharing their typical restricted feeds, private discussions, and boastful changing room remarks. Courage came easier online. It invariably does. Then arrived the blunder I anticipated. A fresh recording. This one bypassed open platforms. It arrived straight to Lila's previous profile. They remained unaware I now managed it. In the clip, 2 figures wore balaclavas, yet their speech rang unmistakable. One gripped a tuft of chestnut strands. The other declared, "Inform your father to stand down, or next round will go beyond just clipping her." They burst into laughter. I held mine back. I incorporated the clip into an additional packet. This one labeled, "Threats against a juvenile and interference, priority." I transmitted it straight to a Department of Defense contact specializing in civilian military data exchanges. Not for immediate action, but to initiate monitoring. My associates were already observing their electronics lawfully via parental consent forms, the sort guardians approve absent scrutiny. We followed signals, purged sound clips, coinciding access points. All the while, my daughter began healing. Gradually, without fanfare. One night she inquired, "Why haven't you acted?" I offered a calm smile. "Darling, the work is underway." Because justice occasionally dons business attire, occasionally combat gear, and occasionally, it operates without sound. Friday evening, 6:03 p.m. The governing council session would commence in 7 minutes. I had lodged my parent speaking request 48 hours prior, routine process. What deviated from routine was the accompanying item, a confidential folder. Contained within, the hospital corridor recording. The journal Lila concealed following the initial event. The masked youth video segment. The notarized account from Nurse Elena, who caught the group jesting about shaving the patient in Ward 308. Plus one last item. A snapshot of my daughter's bare scalp, captured the day after. Her palms partially shielding her features. My 3-minute address at the lectern stayed measured. No volume increase. No direct naming. I recounted the events plainly, then pushed the confidential folder toward the chief administrator. I have also forwarded copies to the education department, 3 reporters, and a specialist in youth trauma cases, I stated. This is your window to address it proactively, or be overwhelmed. 2 chairs over, the athletics director, the team leader's dad, drained of color. The gathering concluded amid whispers and hurried departures. Yet beforehand, my remarks were captured and uploaded. In under 12 hours, views surpassed 40,000. Tags emerged. Former students began weighing in. Contributors dialed in. And the administration? They fell utterly silent. Precisely my goal. Still, come Monday, 2 youths were removed from lessons. The remaining one, the team leader's son, continued showing up, his father spinning public relations while officials delayed. But the hush had shattered. A regional show covered the account. Then a nationwide harassment prevention profile reposted the address excerpt. In hours, graduates swamped the institution's messages. Funders halted support. A prominent backer declared a pause for evaluation. I avoided media interviews. Unnecessary. Lila's identity stayed protected publicly. I ensured it. Yet the identity of the shaved girl was obvious to all. The region proposed dialogue. A polished note suggesting a healing discussion session. I ignored it. My counsel replied instead, supplying a thorough catalog of every regulation breach, plus a prepared civil action already vetted by district legal advisors. Concurrently, I passed the electronic record to an ex-comrade now in county oversight. Not merely concerning the youths, but their guardians too. One redirected public funds to personal ventures. Another had meddled in a prior enforcement filing. This transcended Lila alone. It concerned an apparatus that shielded influential offspring and suppressed the rest. And now that apparatus fractured internally. The true consequences were only beginning. I retained one unseen element. But once deployed, no school emblem would shield them again. 2 years prior, the academy upgraded its monitoring setup, state-of-the-art lenses with remote storage. Months afterward, they downgraded discreetly. Cost-cutting, they claimed. Prior recordings allegedly deleted. Yet my group knew someone at the supplier. In reality, materials were merely stored, not destroyed. The retrieved materials stunned even me. One segment depicted 2 youths hauling a female rearward into an unoccupied, changing area passage. Lila's sweatshirt, identifiable, features motion obscured, yet instantly recognizable to her parent. Another captured a 3rd youth standing watch, amused, handling a device as though recording. Timestamped. Geotagged. Undeniably sharp. Then came the maintenance records. A submission existed. 30 days earlier. The worker noted, screams detected in sector a female section, observed 3 male pupils departing. Endorsed. Filed. Never entered the formal event archive. Suppressed. That became my concluding piece. I compiled the complete set. Entire recordings, custodian declaration, software-refined captures, earlier submission details, internal correspondence revealing official postponement. I directed it not to outlets, not to authorities. Instead to a statewide youth welfare examiner and the Federal Civil Rights Division. In under a day, federal officials opened an initial review. The region attempted reticence. But quiet cannot endure exposure. And I was merely preparing the spotlights. It commenced subtly. The head official took administrative absence, 48 hours post-Federal Review launch, the Council issued a vague announcement regarding pupil confidentiality and continuing assessments. Internally, however, alarm spread. A contact shared a forwarded message chain from an anxious clerical worker. It revealed legal teams rushing, attempting advance resolution talks. They presumed liability already, prior to any formal claim. That prompted my next step. My attorney submitted the official complaint, listing the academy, 3 executives, the region, and the specific youths. Yet compensation wasn't our aim. Transformation was. Lasting exclusion of the youths from all state-funded education. Dismissal of accountable personnel. Enforceable commitment to guideline overhaul and external monitoring. A formal written regret to Lila. They anticipated financial demands. We demanded responsibility. Regional coverage at last embraced the complete narrative. Beyond the violation itself. The concealment. The institutional timidity. The bias enabling repetition. Families withdrew contributions. One council participant stepped down. Then the team leader's father, the athletics director, faced temporary removal amid scrutiny. Disintegration rarely opens with explosion. It begins with subtle tugs until the entire facade collapses. Lila stood by the counter that evening, eyes on the newest headline gliding across the screen. No grin appeared. Yet she murmured words I'll always carry. You didn't merely shield me, Dad. You shielded the girl who comes after. The piece landed on Tuesday. Lead story. Not merely regional, nationwide. Title: Region shielded prominent player as pupil faced attack, records reveal. The writer had investigated thoroughly. My confidential folder sufficed to ignite broader scrutiny. Via discussions, public records demands, and insider disclosures, the full concealment disintegrated openly. Aliases protected the youths, including Lila, yet the facts remained clear and irrefutable. By week's end, the team leader's entire athletic award vanished. The head administrator was ousted. The council initiated comprehensive examination. 3 employees departed amid intensifying strain. Yet the deepest impact lay beyond documents. That morning, Lila descended in casual clothes and a pullover, scalp still closely cropped, uncovered. No cap, no wrap. She met my gaze directly and asked, "Can we grab something to eat?" She hadn't ventured outside bareheaded in weeks. I simply agreed. Wherever you choose. We settled in a small neighborhood cafe. The server knew her. So did the pair beside us. Silence prevailed, but their expressions conveyed approval. Dignity, never sympathy. That night, I stepped onto the deck, mug steaming. The breeze felt steady. The clamor had faded, and I recalled the words old Mr. Donovan murmured at the medical center before he left us. Victory has many forms, boy. Sometimes it ensures your child never faces the battle alone again. I never obliterated them. I merely brought their actions into the open, and that sufficed.